This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Alongside the beautiful,
wow, thank you,
inside and out Steven Simcox.
So good to be here.
I don't think people talk about you that way.
They don't.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's something that's ever happened.
No, but first time for everything.
Yeah,
I'm happy to be here.
What would you say your celebrity doppelganger is?
I don't know. You know, when I was in high school, I don't think this was meant as a compliment, but if anyone watched the show Even Stevens growing up, Garrett, do you remember Even Stevens?
A little bit.
There was a kid on there that I think was named Beans. Yeah, Emery knows Beans. And I had some similarities to Beans. I don't know what Beans has done with his life. I feel like I saw him. My kids watched Cheaper by the Dozen recently, like the Steve Martin. And I forget
he in that?
Yeah, I think Beans was in that as like the neighbor boy that the other children kind of corrupted. But yeah, that's the only one I can really think of. Thank you, brother.
No, I'm looking at Beans right now. I mean, I would have had to seen you when you were a kid, which I've only known you since you were in college.
Mm-hmm.
So not really all that long. Stephen Anthony Lawrence is his name.
Oh, his name is Steven. There you go.
Yeah,
serendipitous.
Stephen, he's a V Stephen, not a PH.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, for whatever that's worth to you.
Yeah. Well, Stephen Curry's kind of ruined that for us too.
Oh yeah.
I get more of that now. I get like Stephen. I'm like, no, I don't shoot 3-pointers.
Let's see.
Is he in, like, does it give his age? Is he in his 30s, 40s?
He is 34.
Okay, so I'm 31. So yeah.
Okay.
About that same age.
Yeah. He was in an episode of Weeds in 2010.
All right.
Where he played Keith. And then he hasn't done anything since 2014. Okay. So on to the next event in his life, which is probably conventions. So my doppelganger, I've been often told, is Kevin James.
That's not bad, yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. And the sickest burn ever thrown at me in my life. Jarrett's already laughing. He knows the story.
Yep.
I was taking a date to go see the movie Hitch, of which he is one of the stars. And just so happens that day I was not wearing my contacts because my eyes were a little dry. So I wore my glasses. And in the movie, he wore glasses. And on the poster, he wore glasses. Even though most of the posters, here's the thing. Here's what's messed up about it. Most of the posters are just Will Smith and maybe Eva Mendes. Mm-hmm. But the one that our local theater had, actually, it wasn't even a poster. It was one of those, like, stand-up things. And so at the stand-up, I'm walking in to see the movie, and a 13-year-old kid goes, "Ha, look, he's going to see his own movie." And here's how much it's followed me. The 2014 Baylor basketball team used to call me Paul Blart. And then I heard them call me that, and I thought it was funny. And then I remember them being like, oh man, I was like, dude, I get it. You're not the first ones, but yes, much.
Well, I've got
much Kevin James.
I've gotten some Kevin James comparisons too. So last off season, I did an interview where, and I won't drag you guys into this because I know you're good friends with Joe McGuire, and I don't have any beef with him. Yeah. But I was talking about Texas Tech.
Yeah. And
there was a lot of hype around Tech at the time.
Yeah.
And I think the line that I said was, you have to do more than just tweet out Ric Flair gifts to get, recognition in the offseason. And Tech fans did not like that. And so they started calling me Paul Blart. Because, I guess they kind of saw a chubby white guy and was like, that's the comparison to make. But, I mean, there are worse people to be compared to.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's a wildly successful comedian and actor. And, I feel like I married a girl way above my station like he did in King of Queens. Like... so I think it's fine. I think everything's worked out for me.
Sure.
Now, would I rather people go, "Oh crap, there's Josh Hartnett"? Yes, I would. Like, I would love people to come up to me and go like, "Oh my God, I really, really loved rookie, whatever the movie he did with Harrison Ford was that they both hated because they hated each other's guts. I'm trying to think of any kind of Josh Hartnett movie.
Somebody just saw Trap and they're like, oh
yeah,
like there's Josh.
No, hey, I haven't seen it yet. It's I'm sorry, yeah. So
sorry to disappoint you.
Yeah. I loved you in the 10 minutes of The Bear you showed up in this year. So, I'm I get that. So, Stephen, we have the Wednesday Wheel today, which will be
Olympic sports.
Olympic sports.
Yeah, how good would you do in these select Olympic sports? I saw some of your commentary on social media this week about some of the, I guess, ancillary sports that are on during this time of the day, like USA.
Yeah.
Handball, right?
Handball. Look, do you agree with my assessment on handball?
I forgot your exact
it looks
take.
like something that you invented in a church gymnasium.
Yes.
With mismatching sports equipment, and then
subsequently
added rules as you got more people to play.
Mm-hmm. Definitely does. I was recently.
And then water polo is handball, but you got to take a trip to the water park.
Mm-hmm.
And, or you were at a pool, and you're like, oh, we're going to do that game, but we'll do it in the water.
Yeah, I was commiserating with a friend the other day, and I should have asked my kids about this. I don't really know what they do in PE anymore. Garrett, do you have any idea? I mean, I know they do some like running and like stretching.
I think it just varies. It's like just a lot of running, and I think they just cut them loose on the play. I don't even know if there really is PE traditional.
But back in the day, like we would just play all these kinds of variations of dodgeball. Like essentially that was what it was. There was some game where we'd have like bowling pins lined up against the wall. And you're trying to hit those. But it was all kind of coming back to, like, you're trying to hit somebody in the face with a ball, with a flying object. And I guess they probably don't do that as much anymore. But handball, yes. Church gym or, like, your fifth grade PE teacher's like, hey, here's a new thing we can do where we just kind of play some version of basketball / dodgeball.
One time on a youth retreat, we played towel hockey. And it was something that was in clearly the youth minister, who was my mother's, but the youth minister handbook. And they're like, you can do this to get their energy out after a long day of praying. And
then you circle up and you're like, man, you know who?
That's towel hockey is where I found out in 7th grade I'm a bit competitive.
You got that dog in you?
It didn't. Here's the thing. It didn't occur to me that this was just towel hockey for Jesus. Didn't. At no point, and he knows this, and I'll admit it now in front of God and everyone, was he on my mind during towel hockey. I was there to win.
So like you were using towels as the stick?
You use brooms as the stick. So it's brooms and towels. Miss, I feel like maybe J.K. Rowling saw this and said I could make that a thing. I could make it Quidditch.
Got it. Yeah.
Which Baylor has a Quidditch team. And
do they?
Yeah, it's like they're a Quidditch group. And I have driven past them on U Parks a couple times playing Quidditch. And it is a sight to behold, man.
Do they like put the broom between their legs?
Yeah, and run and try to throw the ball in the thing. So
don't let the Baptist Church get a hold of that. I couldn't read Harry Potter as a kid. Witchcraft situation. My parents didn't want me to get involved in that. So I don't know.
Oh man.
But good for them. Quidditch, all right.
We've come a long way since 1625, except we haven't.
It's better than sing. Okay, I'll stop. We're getting a little too inside baseball.
Yeah. So, I do. We were going to talk about Olympic sports and like what we could do in them. What we could do in them, or like if we started to try how it could be. And Stephen has picked some that are sports that we know, and some that are
kind of random,
a little more obscure, niche sports. Okay, Stephen, you were on Locked On TCU, Locked On Horned Frogs, and TCU has made some interesting coaching additions to their staff, and they're doing it where Todd Graham is going to work with the offensive coordinator.
Yes.
And Dana Holgerson is going to work with the defensive coordinator to help prepare them for each opponent each week, which I think is very intelligent. Is a very cool way of looking about it. It is funny to me that Sonny Dykes, and we've gotten to know him a little bit, he has surrounded himself. He's the nicest guy on the coaching staff, at least outwardly. But you start looking at the coaches, he's got some guys who have edge to them.
He's built like a Suicide Squad of coaching staff.
Yes, he has.
It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, Andy Avalos, he parted ways with Boise State, and it was kind of vague, but basically the players were like, we're done with this guy. Like, we don't really want to mess with him anymore. It's not working. Please leave. Todd Graham, sort of known for being a prickly personality. I think that's a very generous way to say it. It kind of went under the radar, but when he was at Hawaii, like, it was so bad, like the government got involved. Like, they had hearings in the state Senate where they were like, man, this dude's really mean to these players. Like, he was so mean to the players that they were like calling their state representatives trying to get him out of there. And I guess eventually he decided to just move on. And Todd and Dana won't be involved like with the players per se. As you said, it's going to be more like coaches coaching coaches. But yeah, it is really curious that he's got a lot of big personalities in those rooms. And from what I can tell, he's a pretty hands-off guy. Like, he wants to let people do their jobs. He wants to put people in situations to succeed and kind of stay out of the way. But I wonder if he's going to have to intervene at some point, because this is just a lot of big names. And I mean, Dana's like a cool guy, but he's also been running like the show for a long time. Yeah. He won't necessarily be interacting directly with Kendall, but it's just a weird dynamic. And I think for both those coaches, I mean, they're really just trying to like have a job for a year and then possibly jump to something else.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a testy dynamic at times, having all those big personalities in one room.
I think Dana and Kendall will work together fine. Dana Holgerson, Kendall Briles. I think they'll work together just fine. But Kendall Briles is not the most avuncular human being either. Mm-hmm. He's not, again, his personality is different than, I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying that like, as far as, the outgoing members of the Briles family, I would not call him one of them.
Okay.
He's very much his father's son.
Yeah.
In that regard, personality wise. And, but they all kind of are, really. Just thinking about them, they're kind of
very similar personalities.
Yeah, all the dudes in the family are kind of similar, and but yeah, I think it'll be fine. I do. Todd Graham. I mean, I've never heard anybody talk about Todd Graham and not mention the whole like, this guy's a bit much.
Yeah.
So that's what I wonder. Dana Holgerson. Most people like him. I've never heard players complain about him. I've seen him get too stressed and blame players for something when he probably shouldn't have said that out loud. But other than that, and I honestly don't think that I think Dana's going to take the Gary Patterson route. I think a lot of people think that Gary wants to be a full-time coach again. I don't think he does.
Yeah, I don't think he does either.
And I don't think he wants to go through the rigmarole, and I don't think if he's self-aware enough to know that, like, yeah, maybe I don't, he was really on edge those last couple of years at TCU, where it's like, you were always a guy who was like jumpy, but it was full-blown tinfoil hat Gary, where everybody's against me. SMU had a plan, all those kind of things that were affecting his ability to coach. And if he can just go in and consult and then bounce. And look, I his situation at Baylor, I just think that ultimately probably wasn't a fit for what they were doing.
He's been a head coach for so long. I think he's a guy that probably wants to have that job again, but doesn't want to deal with everything that comes with it at this point in time, which I totally understand. And yeah, I always kind of compared it to Gary was sort of like your crazy uncle. And for a long time, he would show up to holidays and he would say some things that were kind of wild, but he was also, really good at what he did. And everybody loved him and he was fun to be around. And so you just kind of ignored it. But then those last few seasons, when things went the other way, it was like, oh man, this guy maybe this guy needs to move on. So that's probably where he's at. And I mean, he's got a lot of interest outside of football. So hopefully he can find ways to fill his time. I don't think being an assistant coach, though, is something that's a great fit for him, even if it's a kind of cush analyst job, which he's had the last couple of years.
Yeah. By the way, Jack has sent me a text. Florida State also has a Quidditch team. So
dope.
Yeah. Or at least they did in 2019.
Pretty much every college does, Paul. They all have nerds.
Oh, okay. Well, not everybody can get laid in school, I guess.
What are the NIL packages like for the Quidditch teams?
Just Hagrid walking around trying to get people.
Specialized wands.
Yeah. No, it's with back to the TCU coaching. It's they're in such a transition from what they were to what they are now, to then even trying to figure out what you are year to year, which I think Sonny's been pretty candid about. Like, yeah, we kind of whiffed on trying to, follow it up. Like the schedule was off. You don't realize the schedule's off until you're in the middle of it. And you're like, yeah, we're behind. And then once you realize you're behind, you either figure out a way to catch up or you have to start over. And I don't think they ever did either. Like he kind of said they didn't really do either of those things. They just felt they were behind the whole time, didn't have the culture right. I'm still wondering who that was about. Because it usually starts in like one little pocket. I mean, I don't think I wonder. I think I know, but I don't want to disparage someone. But like how much of a, sometimes you think about Remember the Titans, you get the one like guy who, didn't buy into the whole camp thing, and you get him off the team, and all of a sudden everything goes a lot smoother. Even though he might have some people with him.
I think there were a select few, but I do also just feel like that group. In my mind, going into the season, I was like, they're going to be so motivated because of what happened in the national title game, and nobody's talking about them. But I think they went the other direction, and they were just like, well, we made it really far. We had a great season, and we're just going to go out and do the same thing. And they didn't put in the same work. And Sonny, I mean, he's told you guys, he was like, honestly, it started with the coaching staff. Like, we didn't prepare properly. We weren't ready. We didn't understand how to handle that. And, they were sort of behind schedule from the jump. But, yeah, I mean, they're trying to get buy-in back. They're trying to get tough again.
Well, look, I think one of the things I've always thought about Dana Holgerson's teams is they're scrappy.
Yes.
Like they'll get in it. So if he can help influence that in the game planning, which he'll I said Dana and Kendall get along. It's Dana and Andy Avalos who'll be working together, and Todd Graham and Kendall who'll be working. That I wonder. That one I do wonder about.
I wonder about that too. I will say about Todd, like he's known as a very gifted X's and O's guy, and there's a somewhat famous story in TCU circles where he came to a practice that first season Sonny was there, and Sonny was just like, tell me what watch you practice, tell me what you think. Like, give me an assessment of what you feel like this team can do. And he supposedly told me, like, they're going to win the Big 12, which, I mean, they didn't technically do that, but, he was the first one to kind of see, like, oh, yeah, this group's super talented. Like, if you can rein this in, then there's a lot of potential. And so he has a knack for understanding that. But, yes, he's going to have to work with Kendall Briles, and that's going to have to be a relationship that is at least cordial and professional.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a weird situation to like see these coaches that were at the top of a program, then all of a sudden being, oh, I'm a consultant or whatever you are. So, but I think it'll be interesting to see how that particular thing of an offensive coach coaching the defensive staff and the defensive coach coaching the offensive staff works out. And, it may happen other places, but the way that it was described that way was, I was like, oh, well, that's a really, really innovative idea on how to do it, as opposed to bringing in a defensive consultant to consult the defense only. Like maybe you flip it around a little bit. And I think a little bit with Gary Patterson is, he can give some good ideas, but is he going to be able to be involved as he wants to be? When the guy that is now calling the plays is Dave Aranda, who's one of the is an equally brilliant defensive mind.
Right.
And, I'll say many things about Gary Patterson that, bother me, and I've been very frank about it. What I will never say is that he does not coach football, because that dude is like Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind when it comes to figuring out defenses. I mean, he is Belichick level smart. The difference is that Belichick doesn't have feelings and Gary does.
Well, he said he wanted to do a podcast. So Thursdays, triple option.
Oh,
Paul and GP.
Yeah. Look, I'll call him right now and set him up with the All In Network.
I don't know if he wants to do 5 days a week.
Yeah. That might be too
That
much.
might be a deal
I'll tell him,
breaker.
like, 2 days you can just sing for 30 minutes. Do music. Well,
He's only got like 5 songs. He doesn't have a vast catalog yet.
Well,
We'll have
I
to
mean,
work
he
on
can do
that.
covers.
He can do covers. That's true. Yeah.
yeah, like all right, on Friday's show, I'm going to do Amarillo by Morning.
It's like the Sirius XM Gary Patterson channel.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, when we come back, how many teams from each league in the CFP? Is Steven optimistic that somebody not named the Big Ten or the SEC can get more than one? And who would that be this year? That's coming up next. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome in 365 Sports. Paul Catalina, Steven Simcox. And Steven, there are 12 teams in the college football playoff. It's long overdue that we've had an expanded playoff. However, you do get the feeling that expansion is just a way for everybody to get more of their own in. And that's what I think the fear is for most. So let's go back and forth. We'll start with the SEC. How many teams of the 12 do you think they will have?
I'll say 4.
Okay. So that only leaves 8 spots.
Yes.
I do think that there's a very good shot that they're getting 4, which means that somebody for sure outside of whoever the group of 5 team is going to get 1.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
I mean, what do we think? So, like, SEC champion, obviously. So, presumably, like, Georgia.
SEC champion, SEC runner-up.
Yes.
The runner-up to that runner-up.
And then
whoever's
left.
Whoever left, it probably has a similar record.
Okay.
And mind you, with 16 teams or more in all these leagues, there's not going to be as much overlap in the schedule where you can just say, well, this one was, I mean, you could have, 3 10-2s and a 9-3 that really aren't that far apart. And 9-3 in the SEC, I would think gets you in unless you've got just a ton of teams at 11-1 with good records.
Yeah, I think the league is just going to get so much of the benefit of the doubt. And when I think about teams that could, Georgia, we'll see what Alabama does this year. Texas, Ole Miss is a trendy pick.
Yeah.
I think Mizzou is like an outside shot, depending on what they do this year. Like, there's just a lot of teams that you could see. I mean, LSU's, like, there's just a lot of talented teams that if they win a big game or two, then suddenly they're right there in the mix.
I think if Ole Miss is not one of the at least 3 teams that will get in, they've failed this year because they're not doing all this for no reason.
Yeah, not to go to some random bowl game.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so okay, we've already said there's going to be one group of 5. So we've got 5 teams in right now with 4 in the SEC and 1 group of 5. Let's go to the Big Ten. So we have 7 spots remaining.
We got 7 spots left. Okay. I mean, I think we could see 3 Big Ten teams in there.
Okay.
That feels right.
Yeah.
Michigan and Ohio State seem very likely.
Yeah.
And then whichever team finishes just outside of those 2.
Okay.
Whether that's one of the new schools like Oregon or Penn State, like I think there's a path for somebody. The weird thing too is going to be like in the old system. I mean, it was kind of dependent on each year, but there were some years where it helped to be in the conference title game. Some years where maybe that really hurts you. But now, Paul, I think like if you go 10-2 and you don't have to play in a conference title game, that could be a big advantage because you don't add another loss to your resume.
Yeah, I think 10 wins in any league is going to be kind of the bottom rung for. I mean, like that's going to be the bottom rung for you're probably getting in, and then you get 9. It probably depends on the league you're in.
Right.
I don't think 9 like the Big Ten's going to be a good league. I don't know if 9-3 gets you in the Big Ten this year, but it could surprise. We really don't know. So all right, so now that puts us at 8 teams. So we have 4 left, and we've not gotten to the Big 12 or the ACC or Notre Dame yet. Okay, so do you think Notre Dame will be a playoff team? Their schedule very favorable this year.
Yeah. I think they will. So I feel like we're probably looking at a scenario where either the Big 12 or the ACC has just one team.
So Notre Dame is in, so that gives us now, we're at 9. Mm-hmm. So the Big 12 or the ACC are just going to have one team. Which of those 2 leagues do you feel has the best shot to get 2 teams?
So I didn't extensively look at the ACC schedule yet. The first 2 teams I thought of were Clemson and Florida State.
Yeah.
Florida State looks like they have a very clear path. Clemson, it's a little more dicey. They got, that non-con game against Georgia, and then they have to play, Florida State and Clemson will play each other. So I ended up going with the Big 12. I think there's a way we could see like a Utah K-State, those 2 teams making the playoff. I just think the ACC, possibly a team like Miami comes out of nowhere, but it really feels like it's kind of Florida State, Clemson, NC State, maybe, but none of those schools really seem
Miami,
to. Miami,
I think Miami, again, Miami's they're not quite in the Lane Kiffin Ole Miss spot yet, but I think it's, you went out and I promise you, Cam Ward is getting paid more than any of the transfer quarterbacks. I wouldn't say he's probably getting paid more than any quarterback in the country because I know that Quinn Ewers exists and I know that Carson Beck exists.
Right.
And, guys like that. But I'd be willing to bet that Cam Ward costs more money than any of the other transfer quarterbacks, bar none. So you've got a big-time transfer quarterback. You've got Damian Martinez, who I know was already doing well at Oregon State, so I would assume Miami matched or topped it. Probably topped it just to throw a little bow on it. And then the wide receivers that they got as well. So they're in the offensive line. They're paying a lot of NIL money out of the Hurricane Collective or whatever it's called. So
I mean, blind thought right now.
Like they better do something because they're paying a lot of money. Now, does that mean playoff? Maybe not because they haven't even been close. Like they're barely hanging on to being a team where you think about them in the top 25. So going to the playoff in a year, that might be, but 9-3 and knocking on the door, I think that's probably pretty reasonable given their investment and what they've wanted on Mario Cristobal.
If you ended up with two three-loss teams, Miami and let's say K-State both lose in the conference title game, they both end up with 3 losses. There's kind of one playoff spot left. Which way do you think? I mean, I know this is a very hypothetical question, but which way do you think the committee would lean in that scenario?
Oh gosh. Okay, give it to me again.
Two 3-loss teams, both lost in the conference title game.
Okay.
So they're the runners-up.
Yeah.
K-State and Miami.
I think they go to Miami.
Okay.
I think they go to Miami because the committee, who is a lot of football people, is surprisingly influenced by what used to be. And I've always thought that, but, I think Miami would get over K-State. Because they'd be like, the Hurricanes are back.
Yeah, the U.
The U is here. I don't know. Like I think they want that, and they look at that and they'll be like, oh, better luck next year, K-State. Sorry that you lost to Utah, and
right.
Maybe Kansas and some of the like K-State could lose to Utah, Utah in the championship game, and Kansas and Iowa State in the regular season, and those are all pretty good teams. And then Miami could lose to, say, Clemson or FSU in the title game. Would have maybe split with them earlier in the year. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Well, say they lose to FSU twice, right? Say they lose to FSU twice, they might still get in, even though the playoff team that would be definitely going there show them that they shouldn't be there.
Right.
Like I think name brands will still mean something, even though it should not. It's my biggest pet peeve with all of this is that, because when you start talking about name brands, and we saw it last year, Florida State has a pretty good name brand. Pretty good. But, they're Pepsi to Alabama's Coke. Bottom line, that's what they are. And the committee found an excuse. We're like, oh, well, one guy got hurt. And you're like, okay. I mean, I know he's a really, really fantastic player, but, right. I mean.
We're supposed to do this by the resume.
It's about the resume. Like, they still won those games and dominated on defense. You don't think there's more than one way to win a football game? Not in our minds. But you saw the two games that they won, right, against their biggest rival, and then the conference title game against a team that only lost once, right? Yeah. I mean, those don't count.
Well, it's just always such all right, let's make a decision based on basically gut feeling, and then let's get together and try to figure out the reasons as to why. So let's make the decision and then let's justify it. So when we get asked questions, we can point to this weird metric or this random stat or this hypothetical that, supports our decision.
Yeah.
But brands do matter. And it's odd because like Miami, I understand it. I'm not gonna give a hot take and say K-State's a bigger brand, but it's been a long time since in the U's not. I mean, it's a smaller school. Like it's not this huge. It was a massive national thing. It's not really anymore.
Yeah. The U getting in the playoff based on brand name would be like, okay, we need to cast a new Iron Man. And they're like, you know what? You know who is big? Matt LeBlanc. You're like, well, I mean, I liked him in Friends, but I don't know if he's Iron Man. And you're like, in 1997, Matt LeBlanc was the balls, okay? Yeah. We're not going to miss this shot at getting Matt LeBlanc in this movie. And you're like, well, what about Zac Efron? You're like, psh. I mean, please.
Yeah, I mean, all the great Miami players, like all the greats from that era are now retired guys who are just like uncles on the sidelines. I mean, Ed Reed is just like walking around with a beard. I mean, I love Ed Reed. Like, he's amazing. But, it's been a while since he was patrolling the secondary in the Miami uniform.
Yeah. So. Yeah. No, I think that's certain. That's something they have to realize that they're doing is, hey, we've got tickets to Taylor Swift. Like, psh, have you heard of Counting Crows? Same night, much smaller venue.
Intermission's a little longer because they have to kind of recover, hydrate, whole thing. But.
Yeah, they are going to have to take some calcium before the thing's over. There's not as much dancing, but I mean,
good time.
Mr. Jones still slaps. Oh yeah, would you like to go see Kendrick Lamar? Like, no. I'm still holding out for the Fat Boys reunion tour.
Does an ACC that gets two teams in, does that help the doomsday clock at all for that conference? Like, does that? I assume not, because Florida State's issues are all about, revenue and those types of things. But does that solidify or strengthen the conference at all if they're picked over like a Big 12 team?
Maybe. I don't again, here's the thing. Florida State and Clemson are all mad, but they've now set themselves up in the position to be the ones that are automatically picked, right? So, I mean, I don't know. Does it set them up better? I don't know. I don't know how they see this all ending. I know that what their ideal thing is that they get out for as little money as they can, and then the SEC's like, we've been waiting for you. You know what? We kept saying we didn't have this money. Guess what? We do. It's a secret.
We just had to play hard to get.
Yeah. You're the one we've always wanted.
Greg didn't want to show his cards.
Yeah. Greg, why didn't you say anything? I didn't think you'd want me back. Just now they know that we all love each other. We can be a family. Oh. Roll credits. That's what they think.
Dabo agreed to only do 2 Bible studies a week. And finally, we're like, all right, we can do this.
When we come back, it's the Wednesday Wheel of Whimsy. Olympic sports and how we think we do. Steven has thought some of these up and got them there, so we'll see how we would do and how we would start these. This is 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
My favorite time of the week is the Wednesday Wheel of Whimsy. Steven Simcox comes up with the subjects, and we just roll.
Can I pass along a quick news note?
Yes.
Texas running back C.J. Baxter out for the year.
Ooh.
Going to have to require knee surgery. Injured the LCL and PCL in his right knee, according to Pete Thamel.
Golly. Yesterday, I thought the tweet I saw about him hurting his knee in practice, Gary, didn't it feel a little too optimistic, like he didn't hear a pop?
Yeah, that was weird, but we still need to –
that's a huge hit for them. Now, Jaden Blue steps up into that starting spot. And I'm sure they've got depth.
Trey Wisner's been getting a lot of reps in the backup as well.
Trey Wisner of Connolly. And then, so we'll see. They put his full name on the depth chart.
Did they?
They're on the roster when I was looking through, because it's David Sanders, is that his name, from University? That's the catcher that's going to play running back.
Oh, I don't think it's David Sanders. I know who you're talking about, though. I don't know if that's his name.
Anyway, University has a player that was a baseball player that played there, and then he was going to – so he's walked onto the football team. He's going to be a running back. He's like 6'2", 210, big guy. Catcher on the baseball team, backup catcher. Saw a little action this year. He'll play more next year, presumably under Jim Schlossnagle. Right. Who knows? But he's there. But so I was looking at the other running backs to see, all right, well, how many rungs does he have to climb up the ladder to play? And they had Trey's full name on there. And I've known the kid since he was 14 years old. And I was like, who is that? And it didn't even occur to me. I was like, I've never even heard of this guy. And then I clicked on it. I'm like, oh, it's Trey.
Trey Wiseman.
Now I know when they call him Trey. His name is, I can't remember what it's very long. It's very long. It's like 12 letters. And so I was like, I just knew him as Trey. Like, I never knew him any other way. And so I was like, well, that's embarrassing that I had that thought of like, no, like the first name tripped me up, and I didn't just look at the last name.
Right.
So.
Well, he might get thrust into action here.
Yeah, I say Connolly and DeSoto. He transferred to DeSoto and played his last.
Didn't he start at like Mejia and go to Connolly?
Yeah, and then Mejia, Connolly, DeSoto. Yeah, so.
Well traveled, you know.
Well traveled. Okay.
Here we go. Spin the wheel.
How we would do
in these Olympic
sports. Water polo.
Water polo.
I have experience with inner tube water polo at intramurals in college, and I will tell you that was exhausting enough. But if I was in shape, I feel like I could. I'm a pretty good swimmer for being this corpulent, so I think I could do well.
Yeah, a theme here is anything in the water is going to be bad for me. I mean, I'm just trying to stay alive, basically. But I like the idea of water polo. I mean, it seems kind of fun.
Yeah.
I don't really know strength and speed, obviously, but other than that, I don't really know what else you need.
Ability to tread water.
Yeah, tread water.
You know,
maybe I could just be a goalie.
Not get drowned by other people kicking at you. You know, and it's all accidental, really. You know, like I think most of the contact is, you know, you can't really like build up steam and like go into somebody when you're doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
What was intramural water polo like?
It was inner tube water polo. So you had your ass down in the inner tube.
Oh.
And so you're down in the inner tube, and you're like, it was exhausting, like paddling like this. Eventually, I retired from that sport, even in my 20s, and said, I'm not having as much fun. And I feel like my bathing suit's going to fall off in the water, and that's going to be a whole thing that I have to deal with for the rest of my life emotionally. So I was an intramural ref and supervisor, so I just was like, put me on water polo if you want. And then it was just trying to get frats not to fight each other.
I just always wonder in a lot of these sports, like, what do those guys do? I mean, is there professional water polo? I don't know.
There's got to be like some kind of club or some league.
I would think so, but is it some dude who works at like IBM and then he's just also water poloing it up and going to the Olympics for a month every 4 years?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like Flava Flav sponsored the women's team.
I heard about that.
And it's because they all have to work multiple jobs, and then this is, so he sponsored them so that they could train for the Olympics, and which, like, a cooler sponsor you could not have.
No.
For example, if I were FIU, I would, no offense to Pitbull, I would much rather be Flava Flav Stadium. Flava Flav Field, oh my gosh.
Oh, the big clock that you could have?
Yeah. That could be like at midfield? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Flava Flav Field. That needs to happen.
Flavor Flav Field. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go to the next one. Fencing. I think like I could be all right at fencing. I'd need to lose a lot of weight. I mean, like, there's not a lot of fat fencers out there. I mean, it's more area for you to thrust and parry.
I didn't think about that, yeah.
Yeah, so.
I think I could do okay at this. My son likes to, like, have sword fights with, like, sticks a lot, so we do that in the yard. So I think it's probably pretty similar.
Yeah. I wonder how many guys with, like, lightsabers
would be good at it.
Are like, you know what? And don't put it past, like, one of the sports that's on here is breakdancing. Mm-hmm. Don't put it past 30 years from now, lightsaber being a part of the Olympics.
For sure.
That's a worldwide thing. Like, there are nerds. Like, we just found out about Quidditch. I promise you there's more people that if it were more socially acceptable would have a weekend lightsaber fight club.
Is that called LARPing, or is LARPing a different thing?
LARPing is a different thing. LARPing is... it's like Civil War reenactments, but with like fantasy, So
with something like Star Wars?
You like something like Star Wars, yeah. Jack's very defensive of LARPing, which makes me wonder about his weekends.
I'm not. I'm trying to tell you it is.
It's like Star Wars. Okay.
Like Star Wars or Game of Thrones. Like Lord of the Rings. wizards and imps and things like that.
I'm learning so much today. This feels like a PBS hour. I love it.
Yeah.
I also heard I didn't listen to the podcast, so it's not a great setup. But Pablo Torre did an investigation. Apparently, like fencing's very corrupt. Like the judges, I guess, are paid off, and
well, it is.
It's a very rich sport too.
It's a rich, so it's easy. Like rich people are quite often, I think, more corrupt than poor people.
Well, they don't like to lose. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
they're like, why would you?
Yeah.
Why would I lose if I can just pay you money to tell me I won?
I mean, who's done more shady stuff in their life? Like somebody who finds something that falls off the back of a truck,
right?
Or a
stock market broker or something.
Somebody who crashed the stock market because of the real estate market. Like those kind of things. I don't know, but
I would be better at fencing than water polo.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah. Take that nugget with you today, guys.
Yeah, I absolutely would.
Here we go. Spin the wheel.
All right. Okay. Oh, I'd be terrible at diving.
Yeah, I'd be
awful
bad
at diving.
too.
I don't know. I watched one of the Chinese divers do a straight up handstand and then push herself off and flip a few times and then go in the water with a drip of the water coming out. And I was amazed that can happen, like in the world of physics. Like scientifically, it didn't seem possible to me. Like doing one or the other, like having a dive where you made almost no splash, or doing a dive with 11 flips in it, would have been like those things separately possible. Those things together in the same 3 seconds. Didn't believe it.
Yeah, I'd be horrible at diving too, unless they gave me points for yelling cannonball when I came off the board. Like that's the only way I would do well. I watch, the first day of coverage, it's like opening ceremonies, and then it's like, hey, here's the 3 sports that are happening. Synchronized diving was on, and that's when the 2 people are on, the boards next to each other, and they're supposed to copy each other's movements. And I had the announcer was like, "Oh, that's going to cost them." And I didn't see any difference. I was like, "What are y'all even looking at?"
It happens quite a bit when I'm watching sports like diving or gymnastics, where they'll come out like, "Well, the degree of difficulty wasn't that as tough," and I'm like, "Did you see what they just did?"
I know.
That's the hardest thing I could ever even dream of doing. Like, as a matter of fact, if I had a dream about me being a gymnast, another me would pop in and be like, "This is stupid. Stop dreaming this. Let's not go down this road." Like, Let's have the dream where you like running from a snake, like trying to eat a giant donut. Like that's more realistic than you doing this balance beam trick. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, diving, that wouldn't work for me.
No.
I couldn't do it.
All right. Breakdancing.
Breakdancing.
Look, Emery would be great at it. Emery won. Look. We were in Vegas.
Is Emery a B-boy? He can dance?
Emery, we're in Vegas, and he lost his ever-loving mind when we saw the Jabberwockies. He was like, "Oh, I got to get my picture with the Jabberwockies."
I do like the Jabberwockies.
Cool. they were at the media party, and he...
Did they have the mask on?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Well, how would we have known?
The next day.
You just thought they were like the Black Eyed Peas or something in their jumpsuits.
Yeah, they recognized him the next day.
Yeah. So, they're like, "Oh, wow." I mean, and Emery thought that as like, "Oh, they're going to ask me to join the crew." That's it. So I would not be good at it. I feel like Emery, though, is watching breaking in the Olympics and going, maybe.
I mean, I like to dance, and dancing as a white guy to like hip hop music is kind of like a cat jump roping. Like if you can kind of do it, they're just like, "Oh, look at that guy." It's just like, look at you go, man. Look at you trying your best. It's like a kid. It's like my kid shooting baskets on a big hoop, like air ball, and I'm like, "Good job, buddy."
You almost hit the net.
Yeah.
You're right there.
You're just out there trying.
Couple more weeks, I bet you're going to hit the rim. And then we'll go. Yeah, no, I don't think I would do I'm not a very good dancer. I need a little
help,
liquid assistance when people ask me to dance. I fortunately married a woman who has never once asked me why didn't I ask her to dance when we're at weddings. She's absolutely cool. Like one time I was like, "Do you want to go?" And she's like, "No, I'm cool over here."
Well, everybody, it's this Friday and Saturday if you want to watch it. I don't really know what to expect, but it's called Breaking. They're very serious about that. Yeah. So I don't know.
There's also a movie in the 80s called Breaking.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of movies in my time called Step Up.
I've ever told you my beef with dance movies.
No.
Here's the thing about dance movies. They like kind of perpetuate the myth that dancing can solve the problems. So like there's a lot like as the step ups go on, they're like, we're gonna have a dance off and save the community center. Like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
No.
I'm pretty sure there's one called Step Up the Street.
Yeah.
Like that's the title of it. I can't remember which one that is. That
it
might
was-
have been straight to DVD. Step Up 2?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, they ran out of they ran out of names after one movie.
I will say this though. I was proven wrong. I used to do a bit in my act about like they're more unrealistic than Star Wars because I've never once encountered a dance off in my life.
Yeah.
And then like a year later, after doing that joke all the time, and then like some people are like, oh, I've seen one. I'm like, bull crap. You've not seen one. And then I was in a bar here in Waco and witnessed a dance off. And I thought, oh, this is really a thing.
How does it end? Does somebody just bow out like a gentleman? Or does the crowd decide? Like,
I mean, there weren't even that many people in the room. Like,
Yeah,
it was almost
that
like
tracks.
a private dance-off. But they had a dance-off. And then since then, I've seen a couple more, other like just out in the world. And you're like, okay, well,
Wow.
dance-offs do happen. It's not just a thing invented by Hollywood.
it's a real deal. Julia Stiles was on to
I
something.
mean, like, I'll wander in and maybe one day I'll see an actual Yoda. Like, because if dance-off exists, then in my mind, so can he.
yeah, that's a good A to B connection there.
Like, because I really thought, like, this is total fiction. This is total, like, nobody would do this. Nobody would walk up and, like, wouldn't you just fight? Like that I've seen lots of times.
Yeah.
But, I've never seen, like, we're going to settle this like gentlemen by dancing.
Yeah,
in a group.
dance-offs are more personal than fighting.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Surfing.
Surfing. It's water sports. So
Yes, I'm out.
You're out. I was Maui last year for the honeymoon, and at the resort they were giving surfing lessons, and they give you like one free. Like, so the first one's free, and then you pay for the other ones. So over the days that you're there, by the time you're done, you can surf. And I was getting what do they call the pineapple things? Like, they have these really cool, like, frozen pineapple treat things. They're just so great. So I was getting one of those, and the surf instructor comes up to me because it was, like, right by their booth. And it's like, bro, would you like to have a surfing lesson? It's free. And I'm like, no. He's like, oh, don't, like, and he was trying to be nice, like, don't let any kind of physical limitations you think hold you down. Anybody can surf. And I was like, not anybody.
Yeah.
This guy can't. And I was like, look, I just got married. I'm like, I don't want to embarrass myself on my honeymoon, nor be maimed in any kind of way.
It's just another sport where I'm sure if I watched it, I could understand, but I don't know what you get points for. It's just like the person that rides the biggest wave and doesn't die. Like, are there artistic, like.
I was watching it without the sound yesterday and trying to figure out, here's what I can't figure out. Like, grade and score points however you want with the judges. But what if there's not a wave?
That's a good point, too.
Like, because they have a clock, and so they're getting on these waves and they're waiting, but what if there's not a good enough wave for it? I mean, look, and they're in Tahiti. There's waves all the time. They're, measuring the tides, but it's not exactly something that's
you can control,
quantifiable, right? Like, okay, we've got 5-10 waves coming, like 5 in a row will be 10 out of 10 waves. And then we're going to have 3 7s, and there's going to be a 2, so we're going to skip that one. And then there'll be 4 7s and a 6 and an 8. So we'll plan it out over this. It's like, no, like it's not that. So I'm very impressed by it.
Yeah, for sure.
I've sat on many beaches in my life and watched people surf and gone, dang.
That's amazing, yeah.
Yeah. Wish I could be that guy, but
we're not.
God had different plans for me.
That's right.
He said, you may not be able to surf, but we'll make you moderately humorous.
Make a good towel hockey player.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be intense at towel hockey.
Swimming, yeah, again, I'm out.
Look, I think I'd be all right.
Okay.
My problem with swimming is that I'm short. So
strides, yeah.
You know, when I'm looking at Caleb Dressel or Michael Phelps, or like even like occasionally there'll be like a guy like on a 4x1 team, and you're like, oh, he's short. Like, no, 6'4", 6'4", 6'4", 6'0". So he's short by the standards of the three other guys standing next to him, but he's still 4 inches taller than me.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's highly entertaining to watch. It's also kind of funny to watch because it's weird watching sports. You know, we watch sports all the time, so you kind of understand what everybody's doing. Like, you watch warm-ups, and you're like, okay, I get what the point of this is. But, like, people are in coats all the time. They're, like, hitting their bodies. They're, like, shaking their bodies. They all have 12-packs. You know, it's very odd. But, yeah, I wouldn't do great at it, but I respect the heck out of the people that do because it's amazing.
I think that they should do – here's an idea for a new Olympic sport. So, you know, the medleys in the swim. They should do a medley in the 4x1 track. The last guy gets to sprint straight, but one guy has to go backwards, one guy has to go sideways, one guy just has to go in circles.
That would really change things up.
Yeah. You know, because look, everybody can go, like almost all those swimmers can go fast freestyling.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's why only one person does the freestyle. Usually your fastest guy who's going to go. But, you know, the backstroke and all those other things are different. So why not?
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Changing up the running patterns.
Maybe not circles because that would take too long. Zigzags.
Zigging and zagging.
Like you're running away from an alligator.
Through like cones or something.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the reasons I love the steeplechase is because it's hurdles, but there's also a puddle. And also feels like a game like a drunk guy was like sitting out there watching people going to hurdle like, hey, move that one.
Throw a little water in there.
Move that one over by that puddle. Let's see how they do. And then like later on, I was like, no, you have to jump in the puddle. It's the rules. You can't skip the puddle when you got to jump in it. That's how this is. What's it called? It's steeplechase. What's a steeple? Don't worry about it.
Chasing the steeple, brother.
Just jump in the puddle and quit crying. Track and field. Well, as we were on the steeplechase, I would not do. I'm not fast.
Yeah, I'm not very fast either.
I'm not fast. I don't have a lot of endurance. Maybe I tried to be a shot putter in high school. You know, my offensive line coach recruited me to do that. It was a great off-season workout, and you know, you may be pretty good at it. But I'm very good at bench pressing. Like, I'm very good. I've always been like, you know, a good bench presser because I have short arms and I have a barrel chest, so I can just pop, pop, pop. But if you look at the shot putters, I mean, that's a different thing. They're mostly shot and discus or big guys with long arms. As a matter of fact, like if I was walking in to get in a scrum at the Olympic Village, I would take the shot and discus guys with me.
Yeah, those guys are huge.
Yeah. Like I would be like, hey guys,
you're on my team.
New Zealand stepped to me earlier, and you know, the breaking team told me we'd have a dance off, but I'd rather just fight it out.
I'd rather just have you punch him in the face.
So the breaking guys were all in for a dance off with New Zealand, but
let me show you this move.
Let me show you pummeled by a shot putter. While you're spinning on the ground, he's going to pick you up and throw you into a dumpster. Like, no, I thought about doing that, but I could never get the technique down because it's a lot of like weird, like it's stepping backwards and spinning and hurling that thing. I can do that running. I mean, I asked the same question to every sprinter we've ever had on this show, or anybody who's fast, is what does it feel like? Because I'll never know what it feels like. And the thing that pisses me off and makes me so jealous is that none of them can describe it. It's like being in space. Like, well, none of us have ever been to space, but if we got an astronaut in here, they would be like, it's just so different. And you're like, how? The gravity thing is like that, not just that. It's just...
You just got to be there, yeah.
It just is. You feel all of creation at once, and you're like, well, I don't know how that feels. I'll never know.
It's not relatable at all.
I'm not rich enough to buy my way into space. Somebody describe it. All right, one more, and then we got to go.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
Let's do either weightlifting or handball. Your pick.
Oh, let's go handball.
Okay, handball. I think I'd be pretty good at handball.
Yeah, I think I would. I'm surprised because there are dodgeball leagues for adults, which I really would like to get involved in. But I also think an adult handball league would be super fun.
Yeah.
And not because there's curling for the Winter Olympics. Like you can go in Austin and Dallas, they have curling clubs. I've always kind of wanted to go to one, although I'm not good with ice, so I'd probably be the first, I'd probably be the person that they wrote the waiver about. Like, don't do this, don't do that. Just walk on the ice and slide on your knee. Nobody ever falls over in curling. Don't be the first. But I think with handball, I think that's something that, get together at the local Y and play a little handball would be fun.
The intriguing thing to me is in the 10 minutes I watched, I'm pretty much an expert. I didn't see any fast breaks. So it's not like there's athleticism required, but it's not like you're just sprinting up and down the court. Like the defense usually kind of gets set in the half court, and then the offense brings it up and they try to score. So I think I could handle that.
Yeah. No, I think I could. Like it's good. Like again, ground water polo. That's what it is.
That's what we can do.
Yeah, in like ground water polo, I think we could do that. I wonder if there's a handball thing that we could ever.
Let's just start training for the Olympics right now.
Yeah.
2028, LA.
Yeah. You watch. Listen, all you clowns on the U.S. team right now.
Yeah.
We're coming for your spots.
Yeah.
We're coming for it. I
book a vacation in 2028 because
Yeah.
you're not gonna be on the team.
Yeah. You can go to Paris again. Because we'll be in L.A.
We're so good at trash talk.
Yeah.
That alone should get us on the team.
Listen, here's the thing, and if you've got a problem with it, I'm friends with a bunch of shot putters.
That's right. All right, new goal in life, baby. Handball team, 2028. Let's do
Handball team, and the first person we're making friends with is the shot putters.
Yep.
We're
So
gonna
we
get
can just run our mouth
shot
all we
putters,
want.
And like the discus guy, like because he's got more finesse. We get a javelin guy because he'll stab
yeah.
you. He'll
They
just
will.
stab you from a long distance. That's what we'll do. We'll be the roughest dudes at the Olympics. They will be afraid of our handball team. That's for sure.
I love this plan we hatched. All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. This afternoon, we've got Sam Kahn on the show, our very good friend, and we've had a lot of stories happen today. We got Matt Brown, who's got a huge announcement.
Yeah.
Tyler Budge of CFB Budge or CF Budge. He's got his own magazine out. He's really good. Bob Holt from the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, and John Wilner, who embarks now as the Pac-12 is officially the Pac-2 and disintegrated on his new venture of having to go all over the place to cover the teams that he covers and not just on the West Coast. That's going to do it for us. We'll see you tomorrow.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks,